Alright, let's break this down in the simplest, easiest, clearest way, word by word, line by line, like I'm teaching a very young child. I'll explain every idea, person, and word like a kind, patient teacher. Let's begin. Line 1. The eventual fate of Pulakeshin Teketsin was decided by a Tamil king. Pulakeshin II. He was a famous and powerful king from South India. He ruled a kingdom called the Chalukya dynasty around 1400 years ago. Eventual fate means what happened to him in the end, his final story. Was decided by, this means someone else played a big role in what happened to him. A Tamil king, a king from the Tamil land, which is mostly modern-day Tamil Nadu in southern India. So the first line means, in the end, Pulakeshin II's story, his defeat or downfall was caused by a king from Tamil Nadu. Line 2, who had been directly touched by the message of Shiva's saints. Directly touched, not physically touched, but emotionally or spiritually moved. Shiva's saints, these were holy men called Nayanars, who worshiped Lord Shiva, a Hindu god. They sang poems, preached love and devotion, and inspired people, including kings. So this line means, the Tamil king was deeply inspired by religious saints who loved Lord Shiva. Line 3. This man is one of the most uniquely complex of all Indian kings. Let's break this slowly. This man, the Tamil king we are talking about, uniquely complex, this means he was different from others, not just a fighter or ruler. He had a deep mind, strong feelings, and many sides to his personality. So it means, this Tamil king was not simple. He had many interesting and special qualities that made him stand out among all kings in Indian history. Line 4. A keen observer of the society over which he ruled. Keen observer, he watched things closely and understood people well. Society over which he ruled, the people and culture in his kingdom. So it means, he looked carefully at his people and society and tried to understand their lives and problems. Line 5. His sardonic wit and sharp sense of self. Sardonic wit, this means clever and sometimes funny comments, often with a touch of sarcasm. Sharp sense of self, he knew who he was. He had strong self-awareness and confidence. So this means he was clever, sometimes sarcastic, and deeply aware of himself. Line 6. Make this aesthete, playwright, and poet real like few other medieval kings. Let's break it down. Aesthete, a person who loves and understands beauty and art. Playwright, someone who writes plays for drama or theater. Poet, someone who writes poems. Real like few other medieval kings. Most kings from olden times seem like statues or legends, but this king feels like a real person with thoughts and emotions. So it means, because he loved beauty, wrote plays and poems, and had strong personality, this king feels very real and human, unlike other old-time kings who seem distant or like just heroes in stories. Line 7, especially in comparison to Pulakeshin, whose inscriptions, stage managed by court poets, present him as more of an archetype of the perfect Indian conqueror than an actual human being. This is a big line. Let's go word by word. Especially in comparison to Pulakeshin, compared to Pulakeshin II. Inscriptions. Words carved on stones or copper plates to tell the king's story. Stage managed by court poets. The king didn't write them. Poets in his court wrote it in a way that made him look perfect, like a hero. Archetype, a classic example, a symbol, like a superhero figure. So it means Pulakeshin Sikh is shown in writings as a perfect hero, not as a real human with feelings or doubts, because others wrote his stories for him to look good. Line 8. With flaws, misgivings, or even a point of view. Flaws, mistakes or weaknesses. Misgivings, doubts or fears. Point of view, his own way of thinking or opinion. So Pulakeshin's image didn't show these human things. This part means Pulakeshin's stories do not show him as a person with feelings, mistakes, or thoughts. He is just shown as a perfect king. Line 9. In contrast, this poet king made it a point to compose his own inscriptions. In contrast, this means the Tamil king was different. Made it a point. He wanted to do this on purpose. Compose his own inscriptions. He wrote his own stories carved in stone. So it means this Tamil king was different. He himself wrote about his life and thoughts. Line 10. and even wrote multiple plays, of which 2 have survived. Wrote multiple plays. He was a dramatist, a person who writes plays. 2 have survived. 2 of his plays are still available today. So it means he wrote many plays, and we still have 2 of them even today. Who was this Tamil king? This Tamil king was Rajaraja Cholai's grandson, King Rajendra Chola then, or possibly King Rajashekhara, Rajarajawan himself. But most likely this paragraph is about King Rajashekhara, also known as Shilapatikaram's supporter, or possibly King Rajasima Pallava, or the later Chola king Rajaderajawan. But based on writing plays and deep thinking, this king is most likely Mahendravarman, a Pallava king. Summary in super simple words. There was a king named Pulakeshin II. In the end, he was defeated by a Tamil king. This Tamil king was very smart, artistic, funny, and religious. He was inspired by Shiva's saints. He watched society closely and understood people well. He didn't just fight wars, he also wrote poems and plays. He wrote his own life stories on stones, not through others. He showed himself as a real person, not just a superhero. That's why we can understand his feelings and his thinking even now. Pulakeshin's stories make him look like a perfect king, but not very real or human. This Tamil king was deep, thoughtful, creative, and one of a kind. An example to understand. Let's say, one boy writes a story about himself. I am strong, kind, sometimes scared, and I love music. Another boy's friend writes about him. He is the bravest, greatest, most perfect boy ever. Who seems more real? The first one, because he tells his own truth. This Tamil king is like the first boy, honest, deep, and human. Pulakeshin is like the second boy, a great hero, but we don't see his real self. Let me know if you want to go deeper into the story of Pulakeshin Sikhu, Mahendravarman verse, or the plays they wrote. I'll guide you step by step. Here's the super simple summary of everything. Summary of Mahendravarman and the Pallavas. Mahendravarman was a king from the Pallava dynasty who ruled northern Tamil Nadu around 600 AD. The Pallavas ruled from Kanchipuram, a city that still exists today. They became powerful by fighting other dynasties, especially those linked to Buddhism and Jainism. Although religious competition was strong, the Pallavas were mostly fair toward all religions. Mahendravarman was originally a Jain, but he converted to Shaivism, worship of Shiva, possibly due to a Bhakti saint's influence and also for political advantage. He wrote a funny play called Madhavilasa Prahasana, where he jokes about himself as a drunk man. He openly loved alcohol and even used the nickname Madhavilasa, drunken player, in temples he built. He was not just a king, but also an artist, playwright, and temple builder. Would you like this summary in bullet notes for exam prep too? All right, let me teach you this like you are a young child who knows nothing about this. I will go line by line, word by word, in the most simple and clear way, like I'm the best teacher ever. Let's go step by step. Topic: a funny play by King Mahendravarman, Madhavilasa Prahasana. 1. What is this play? This is a funny play, also called a farce. It was written by a king named Mahendravarman. He was also a Shiva, a person who worships the god Shiva. 2. Who is the main character? The main person in this play is a Kaplan. Now let's understand. A Kaplan is a holy man from a Shiva cult. He is called Kaplan because he carries a skull, Kapalaku skull in Sanskrit. The skull is used like a begging bowl. He begs for food, meat, and alcohol in it. So imagine a holy man walking around the city with a real human skull in his hand, asking for wine and meat. 3. Where does he live and what is he doing? This Kaplan lives in the city of Kanchipuram. He drinks a lot of alcohol. He also has a girlfriend or apprentice who is also always drunk. One day, they both wake up with a hangover. They drank too much last night, so their heads are hurting today. They find out that their skull bowl is missing. So now they are confused, upset, and dizzy from drinking too much. 4. Who do they think took the skull? They see a Buddhist monk walking nearby. This monk looks very calm and proud. He has good food to eat and nice rooms to stay in. But inside his mind, the monk is jealous and wishes he could also drink wine and be with women. But he can't because his Buddhist rules don't allow it. So this makes him opposite to the Kaplan. The monk lives richly but tries to act pure. The Kaplan lives poorly but does what he wants, drinks and has fun. Nastor 5. What do the drunk Kaplan and his girlfriend do? They think the monk has stolen their skull bowl. They try to catch him and beat him up. But because they are both so drunk, they just fall around, miss him, and look foolish. It becomes a comedy. The audience laughs at them. What's the big message or idea here? This play is not just funny, it's also a joke about religious people. It shows religious people can be hypocrites, say one thing, do another. The Kaplan drinks and has fun, but doesn't hide it. The monk pretends to be pure, but wants the same pleasures in secret. The play is saying, don't be fake, be real. Be honest about who you are. Simple example to understand. Imagine, a man dressed like a sadhu, holy man, is walking with a skull bowl. He drinks a lot and hangs out with his girlfriend. One day, they lose their drinking cup, the skull. They see a monk who looks rich and calm, but he's actually wishing he could have fun too. The drunk couple tries to fight him, but keeps falling down, just like in a cartoon. This is how the play works. It's like a cartoon for grown-ups with silly scenes, hidden meaning, and funny truth about religious behavior. Extra info to remember. Master P. Mata Vilasa means drunken sport. Mahendra Varman called himself this. The play shows Mahendra's sense of humor and also his intelligence. He used comedy to show deep truths about society and religion. He was once a Jain, but became a Shiva and used art to explain his new views. This play is a rare and precious example of early Indian Sanskrit drama. Would you like a small summary and important points list too for easy revision? Sure. Here a detailed yet simple summary of the passage you gave, written clearly, step by teacher explaining to a beginner. Summary of the passage. This passage describes a funny and clever play called a farce, written by Mahendra Varman, a medieval Indian king from Kanchipuram. The play is a comedy that uses silly situations and characters to make sharp observations about religion, society, and power during that time. What happens in the play? 1. A fight over a skull bowl. Two men from different Shaivite sects, groups that worship Lord Shiva, are fighting over a missing skull bowl, a religious object carried by certain Shaivites. One of them is a Kaplan, a Shaivite who uses skulls in rituals. 2. Enter the Pasha. A third person enters, also a Shaivite but from a different sect. He also likes the Kaplan's girlfriend, so he tries to solve the fight, but fails miserably. His judgment is biased and silly. 3. Judges are not trusted. Someone says, let's ask the judges of Kanchi. But others say, no, they are corrupt. This shows the king himself admitting that justice in his city isn't perfect, something most kings never admitted. 4. The problem is solved in a funny way. A madman enters and says he found the skull bowl with a stray dog. This madman may represent Lord Shiva in his innocent form. The whole situation ends in a funny and unexpected way. 5. The humor is smart. While the play has slapstick humor, physical comedy, the dialogues are also intelligent and sharp. The king uses this comedy to make fun of the silly beliefs and practices of different religious sects. 6. What the king thinks. Mahendravarman was originally a Jain, but later became a Shaivite. He makes light jokes about Jainism, his old religion, but criticizes the extreme Shaivites and Buddhists more harshly. This shows that he had strong opinions about which religious groups made sense and which were too strange or false in his view. 7. Why it's important. This play was so popular that it was performed for many generations. People copied it by hand, and that's why it still survives today. It gives us a rare and honest look into how a real medieval king thought about religion, corruption, and society, not through boring rules, smart and funny storytelling. Why this is special. Most themselves in writings and say they are perfect. But Mahendravarman admits flaws, like corruption in his city. He uses humor to talk about serious issues like religious divisions, blind beliefs, justice system failure. He gives us a glimpse of religious debates and diversity in early medieval India. Example to understand. Imagine a king today writes a funny play where two spiritual gurus fight over a lost object. A third guru, who likes one of their girlfriends, tries to solve it. They reject going to court because the courts are corrupt. A beggar finds the object and the fight ends. This would be both hilarious and deep, right? That's exactly what Mahendravarman did about 1400 years ago. If you'd like a comic version, a character chart, or a mini play script of this work, just let me know. I can make it even more fun and easier. Alright, little buddy, let me teach you this in the most simple, easiest, step-by-step way, like I'm telling a story to someone who's never heard about any of it before. Get ready for an awesome journey through ancient India. Step 1. Let's meet the main characters in the story. 1. Chalukyas, a powerful royal family in ancient India. Their king in this story is Pulakeshin II. They ruled in the Deccan region, middle of India. 2. Pallavas, another powerful royal family from South India. Their king was Mahendra Pallava. They ruled in what we now call Tamil Nadu. 3. Vengi, a place in Andhra Pradesh, just between the Pallavas and the Chalukyas. It was a very important region because of its location. Many kings wanted to control it. 4. Brother of Pulakeshin II's story. Step 2. What's happening? Let's break the story into small pieces. You'll understand it easily. In the 620s, Chalukya campaigns in Vengi were reaching a crucial stage. In this year 620 AD, the Chalukyas were trying very hard to take control of Vengi. They had already won some battles, and now they were close to winning everything. Pulakeshin II and Vishnuvardhana could countenance no threats from the south. The sixth, the Chalukya king, and his brother Vishnuvardhana didn't want any trouble from the south. The Pallavas lived in the south, so the Chalukyas were worried they might attack while they were busy in Vengi. Example. Imagine you are fighting a game on your left side, but you don't want someone sneaking up from your right side. You want to be safe from all sides, right? That's what the Chalukyas wanted. The Pallavas had been battling the rulers of Andhra for control of this region for decades. The Pallavas had also been fighting for Vengi for many years. So it wasn't just the Chalukyas. Both groups wanted Vengi. And the only way for the Chalukyas to stop their ambitions of northward expansion was through force. The Chalukyas believed that the only way to stop the Pallavas from taking Vengi was to fight them. They didn't want to talk or make a deal. They were ready for war. Vengi, fractured between many petty dynasties and fading Buddhist monasteries, had been easy for the Chalukyas to swallow whole. Vengi had small, weak kingdoms that were fighting among themselves. It also had old Buddhist places, which were not as strong as before. So it was easy for the Chalukyas to take over Vengi. Example: imagine a pie that's already cut into tiny pieces and no one is guarding it properly. It's easy for someone to come and eat the whole pie. That's what the Chalukyas did with Vengi. But nothing of the sort could be achieved in the religiously and politically vibrant Tamil country. But the Tamil region, where Pallavas ruled, was very strong. It had powerful kings, smart thinkers, big temples, and strong armies. So it was not easy to defeat, like Vengi was. Pulakeshin too seems to have instead aimed to secure Mahendra Pallava's submission. Didn't want a full war with the Pallavas at first. He wanted Mahendra Pallava to accept his power peacefully. Submission means to say, okay, you are the boss, I will not fight, and inflict a decisive enough defeat on the Tamils to ensure his grip over Vengi. If Mahendra Pallava refused, then Pulakeshin too wanted to defeat him badly in war. He wanted to make sure that the Pallavas would never try to take Vengi again. Example: imagine you win a football match so badly that the other team doesn't even want to play again. That's what Pulakeshin too wanted to do to the Pallavas. Extra info to help you understand. 1. Why was Vengi so important? It was between two big kingdoms. Whoever controlled Vengi could easily attack the other. It had fertile land, rich culture, and trade routes. 2. What happened next? Pulakeshin II Mahendra Pallava did go to war. At first, Pulakeshin won, but later, the Pallava prince Narasimhavarman came to power. He defeated Pulakeshin II and even destroyed the Chalukya capital Vapi. In one line, what's the main message? Pulakeshin Siku wanted to control Vengi and make sure the Pallavas didn't stop him, so he tried to either make them submit or defeat them in war. Would you like me to draw a simple map or timeline to help you even more? Or want a short poem or story to help remember this? I can make this even cooler for you. All right, little buddy, sit tight. I'm going to take you back in time and tell you a super cool story, step by step, word by word, line by line, in the easiest and simplest way, like the world's best teacher ever telling the world's best kid a legendary tale. Ready? Let's begin. Our big story, Battle of Pallavur. Line 1. At the Battle of Pallavur, close to where, 12 centuries later, Tipu Sultan and Hyder Ali would inaugurate rocketry by smashing a British army with guns. Let's break it down. Battle of Pallavur, a big, big war, happened long ago in the time of Pulakeshin II. It was fought in a place called Pallavur in South India. 12 centuries later, that means 1200 years after this battle, Tipu Sultan and Hyder Ali also fought here and used rockets against the British. So this place became for two big. Example: imagine playing a big cricket match in a ground where, many years later, your grandson also plays and beats a big team. That's how important Pallavur was. The Chalukyas under their war banner crushed the Pallava forces and drove them behind the walls of Kanchi. The Chalukyas, Pulakeshin II's army, had a boar as their royal symbol, like a flag with a wild pig on it. They fought hard and defeated the Pallavas, their enemies. The Pallava soldiers ran back and hid inside their capital city, Kanchi, today's Kanchipuram. Example: like when one team is losing badly and runs off the playground to their home to stay safe. Line 3. The Pallava guards must have watched with apprehension as the dust clouds of the approaching Chalukya army, hot on their heels, blotted out the sun. Let's explain it bit by bit. The Pallava guard guarding the city were very scared. Apprehension means fear. The Chalukya army was coming fast, chasing them. They kicked up so much dust that it looked like the sun was disappearing. This shows how huge and powerful the Chalukya army was. Example: like when a big herd of elephants is running and the ground shakes and dust fills the air. Scary, right? Line 4. Hundreds of colorful flags and umbrellas dotted the vast force as the sun glinted off thousands of spears. The Chalukya army had many, many soldiers. They carried colorful flags and fancy umbrellas used by royal people. Their spears, long sharp weapons, were shining in the sunlight. It looked like a moving rainbow of war. Example, like a giant parade with bright flags and shiny things, but instead of music, it's a march into battle. Line 5. On an especially large elephant near the center was Pulakeshin II, wearing a garment of silk and a golden coronet, glistening with sweat in the sweltering heat despite the great imperial parasol an attendant held over him. In the middle of the army, on a huge elephant, sat King Pulakeshin II. He wore fancy silk clothes and a golden crown coronet. It was very hot, sweltering heat, and even with a big royal umbrella parasol held over him, he was sweating. But still, he looked like a mighty king going to win. Example, sitting on a throne in the middle of a moving army, looking brave and royal even in the summer sun. Line 6. The fearsome boar banner was held high on a standard nearby, waving in the breeze. The Chalukya with the boar symbol was held up high. It waved in the wind. It showed power, pride, and royal strength. Example, like holding your team flag high in the air and letting it fly before winning a game. Around the emperor were his highest generals and nobles, also mounted on elephants, surrounded by elite hereditary troops holding the fluttering banners of aristocratic households. Pulakeshin VI was surrounded by his best generals and nobles, important people of his kingdom. They were also sitting on elephants. With them were elite soldiers, the best fighters, whose families had been warriors for many generations. They held the banners, flags of their royal families, all fluttering in the wind. Example, it's like the king being surrounded by his best teammates, all carrying their family flags, showing they are ready to fight and win together. Extra info to make you a master. Why was this battle important? The Chalukyas beat the Pallavas and showed they were super powerful. It made Pulakeshin II famous and scared his enemies. What is a boar banner? A boar is a wild pig. It was their royal animal, symbol of strength and bravery. Who were Pulakeshin II's enemies? The Pallavas, who ruled in the Tamil region. They also wanted to be the biggest power. Short summary in easiest words. Pulakeshin II, the great Chalukya king, led his huge and shiny army with colorful flags and sharp weapons. He sat like a lion on a big elephant under a golden umbrella. His enemy, the Pallava king, ran and hid in his city, afraid of the Chalukyas. This was the Battle of Pallavur, one of the biggest wins for Pulakeshin. Want a cute story version or comic strip of this next? Or maybe a quick poem or rap to remember it forever? Just say the word. Your teacher is ready. Perfect. Here's the pure explanation only. In the simplest words, just like you're a curious kid hearing a great story, Pulakeshin II had a huge army. They were making a lot of noise, soldiers shouting, drums beating, and elephants making loud sounds. Even the king might have been yelling at the enemy, trying to scare them. The other king, Mahendra, heard all this noise. He saw the big army, and an army was at time. So he decided not to fight. Mahendra followed the smart advice written in old Indian books. These, if you make peace instead of war. So Mahendra gave gifts, maybe gold or money, and made a promise. I won't fight you over the land called Vengi. After the gifts, he was happy and decided not to attack Mahendra's capital city, Kanchi. He didn't harm the people there. Then Pulakeshin returned to his own capital city, called Vatapi. He felt proud. He believed, I'm now the most powerful king in South India. Want this turned into a super short story, drawing, or poem next? Absolutely. Now sit tight. You're about to hear one of the medieval Indian stories in a way, like you're watching a cartoon or listening to an epic bedtime tale. I'll not copy any original line. I'll just explain it all in pure, simple, beautiful words that even the youngest mind can enjoy. Mahendra Varman, the king of the Pallavas, made peace with the Chalukya king Pulakeshin earlier. But here's a secret. He didn't really mean it. In his heart, Mahendra was just waiting for the right moment to break that peace. He didn't want to stay calm forever. He wanted to get patient. Himself didn't plan to go and attack big places like the Deccan or Vengi. Why? Because he couldn't. Maybe he was too old or not strong enough for that kind of war. But make no mistake, he was not a peaceful guy who liked hugs and handshakes. He understood how tough and dangerous the world around him was. The world back then was like a jungle. Imagine a forest full of wild animals. In that forest there was a rule. The big fish eats the small fish. That's called Matsya in Sanskrit. This means only the strong survive. If you're weak, someone will crush you. If you're strong, you must crush others first. So Mahatma acted friendly, but quietly began preparing for revenge. Even though he started spending more time doing art and music, he liked cool things like painting, writing plays, and architecture. He never forgot that one day the Chalukyas must pay. He remembered his past. When he was younger, he had won many battles against other kings in Tamil Nadu. Now, as he got older, he started doing two important things. One, making friends with other Tamil kingdoms, like building a team for later. Two, training and strengthening his army for a future war. Even though his army had recently been defeated by Pulakeshin's Chalukyas, they were still dangerous. They had great generals, like warriors from a movie, smart, brave, and strong. But the most important of all was Mahendra's own son, Narasimha Varman. He was the prince, and soon he would become king. He was smart. He was strong. He hated the Chalukyas, and he would be their worst nightmare. In around 630 CE, Narasimha Varman finally became the new Pallava king. At the same time, the Chalukyas were almost done with their long fights in Andhra. They were tired. They thought things would calm down now, but they had no idea what was coming. Because Narasimha Varman was ready, and he was going to bring fire and fury. In super simple summary, Mahendra made peace with Pulakeshin, but secretly wanted revenge. He didn't go to war himself, but he started getting ready. He made friends and built up his army again. His son, Narasimha Varman, became king in 630. Narasimha hated the Chalukyas and was ready to fight them hard. The Chalukyas thought things were settling down, but big trouble was coming their way. Want me to turn this into a cool comic script, drawing, or a fun voiceover style story next? Just say the word. I'm ready. All right, let's take this step by step, word by word, like I'm telling it to someone completely new, like a young child, in the clearest, easiest English. Think of it as a story with kings, brothers, battles, and kingdoms. Get ready for a masterpiece explanation. Long, long ago, in the year 631, there was a place in South India called Vengi. It was near the coast, close to today's places like Visakhapatnam and Guntur in Andhra Pradesh. Back then, this place had seen a lot of fights and blood. Many kings had battled to control it. Finally, a king named Vishnuvardhana from the Chalukya family became the ruler of Vengi. Who was Vishnuvardhana? He was the younger brother of a famous and powerful king, Pulakeshin II. Pulakeshin ruled a much bigger kingdom called the Chalukya Empire. Vishnuvardhana was not expected to become a king, but surprise, he became one. Even though he had a hunchback, his back was bent, it didn't stop him from being strong and clever. What happened in 631? Pulakeshin, the elder brother, came to visit Vengi like a royal guest. He was probably proud. His little brother had done well. While Pulakeshin was there, he watched Vishnuvardhana give away some land, like a royal gift to someone. This kind of land gift was very important in ancient times. It showed power, respect, and religion, because it was often given to temples or holy people. A big surprise was written in that land gift. It said something very important. Vishnuvardhana's children, not Pulakeshin's, would become the future kings of Vengi. This was like saying, this kingdom belongs to me and my family now. Pulakeshin didn't argue. He just accepted it. Maybe he still thought, he's my little brother, and his kingdom is still part of my big empire. But here's the secret truth. Even though Pulakeshin saw Vishnuvardhana as a junior, Vishnuvardhana was slowly becoming more powerful and independent. That means He was no longer just a younger brother king. He was turning into a real king of his own land. What did this mean for the Pallavas? The Pallavas were another big royal family who lived in Tamil Nadu in the south. Now they had a problem. In the north, the Pallavas had to deal with Vengi ruled by Vishnuvardhana, a Chalukya. In the west, they had another Chalukya friend. So the Pallavas were surrounded by enemies or rivals connected to the Chalukyas. It was like being a game where everyone around you is on the same team and you're alone. In super simple summary, in 631, Vishnuvardhana, Pulakeshin's younger brother, ruled Vengi strongly. He controlled areas from today's Visakhapatnam to Guntur. Pulakeshin visited and saw his brother give land away in a royal ceremony. The land grant said Vishnuvardhana's children would rule Vengi in the future. Pulakeshin didn't stop it. Maybe he still saw Vengi as part of his empire. But Vishnuvardhana was becoming an independent king. The Pallavas now had Chalukya both to their north and west for them. Extra fun example to understand. Imagine two brothers. The big one owns a huge playground. He lets his little brother control a small corner. One day, the little brother puts up a sign saying, "This corner belongs to me and my kids forever." The big brother visits, smiles, but doesn't stop him. But deep down, the little brother is now his own boss. That's exactly what Vishnuvardhana did in Vengi. Want me to turn this story into a comic voice-style drama or storytelling? Let's... Alright. Let me now explain this part in the most simple, clear, child-friendly language, step by step. I'll break it down like a fun and easy story, using easy words, examples, and imagination, like I'm the world's best teacher just for you. Let's begin the story. Something happened in ancient South India, but nobody knows exactly what started it. Historians are not 100% sure, but here are three possible guesses. 1. First guess. Pulakeshin, the powerful Chalukya king, wanted to stop the Pallavas from rising again. Maybe he thought, let me crush them now, before they become strong again. Second guess. Pulakeshin had relatives called the Gangas. They didn't like the Pallavas. Maybe they said, hey Pulakeshin, go and attack them for us. Third guess. The new Pallava prince, Narasimha Varman, was getting ready. He was young, strong, and clever. Maybe he challenged Pulakeshin on purpose, like teasing him into battle. Come fight me if you dare. What happened earlier? The last time Pulakeshin came to the Tamil lands, called Tamilakam, he made sure that other Tamil kings stayed out of the fight. How did he do that? Maybe he gave them gifts, bribes, to make them stay quiet and not help the Pallavas. But this time, things were different. Narasimha Varman had grown smart and careful. He told the other Tamil kings like the Cholas, look, Pulakeshin is more dangerous to you than we Pallavas are. And they believed him. So they joined together. They formed a team or group called a coalition. Now Pulakeshin was no longer fighting one enemy. He was facing three powerful Tamil kings all together. What did Pulakeshin do? He didn't know they were waiting for him. He felt too confident, like, I've beaten them before. I'll beat them again. So he marched his army down from the dry, high land of the Deccan Plateau into the wet, green rice lands of Tamilakam in the south. Then what? In just a few weeks, he came very close to the Pallava capital, Kanchi. He reached a village called Manimangala, just 20 miles away. Guess what? That is today. So it's a real place you can find on a map. A super simple summary. We don't know exactly who started the fight, Pulakeshin or Narasimha. Pulakeshin may have wanted to stop the Pallavas from coming back to power. Maybe his relatives, the Gangas, told him to attack. Or maybe Narasimha made Pulakeshin angry on purpose. Last time, Pulakeshin kept the other Tamil kings out by bribing them. They made those King India team up with him. Pulakeshin didn't know they were all against him now. He marched with his army from dry lands to Tamil rice lands. In a few weeks, he reached very close to Kanchi, to a place called Manimangala. Easy real-life example. Imagine Pulakeshin is a big school bully who beat some kids last year. Now he comes back to the playground thinking, I can scare them again. But guess what? This time the kids, Pallava, Chola, and Pandya, have teamed up. They are ready. Pulakeshin doesn't know they are waiting with a plan. He walks in, too proud, without knowing what's coming. That's where the big twist is about to begin. Would you like me to explain what happens next? The Battle of Manamangala? Let's keep going. Of course. I'll now explain this story like I'm the best teacher in the world, teaching a little child with zero history knowledge. Every line will be broken down into super easy English, with examples and simple words. Let's go. Chash, what happened? Narasimhavarman, the Pallava prince, did something huge. He defeated Pulakeshin, Chalukya king. Not once, not twice, but battle. Let's break it down like a simple cartoon story. Step-by-step explanation. 1. Narasimha beat Pulakeshin in a big surprise. Everyone thought Pulakeshin would win. He was famous and powerful, but Narasimha shocked everyone by winning the fight. 2. Pulakeshin ran away, hurt and sad. He went back to rest and recover, like a hurt lion licking its wounds. 3. Pulakeshin came back for another fight. He thought, maybe I'll win this time. But guess what? Narasimha beat him again. 4. Pulakeshin tried a third time. He believed he couldn't lose forever. He had Emperor Harsha before, so he thought, of course I'll win this time. But for the third time, Narasimha won again. Simple real-life example. Imagine a kid who always wins video games. He beats everyone, even the biggest players. One day, a new kid, Narasimha, shows up and beats him. Not once, but 3 times in a row. The champ is shocked, embarrassed, and doesn't know what went wrong. Back to the story. Pulakeshin's army had a symbol, a boar, a wild pig, which was linked to the god Vishnu. Narasimha's Pallava army had a bull flag, which stood for the god Shiva. So it's like Vishnu's boar versus Shiva's bull, and Shiva's bull won. 5. Pulakeshin's army ran away. They left the battlefield. They couldn't stand against the Pallavas anymore. 6. The Chalukyas were kicked out of Pallava land. That means Narasimha pushed them all the way out. The Pallavas got their land back. 7. This was a big shame for Pulakeshin. For 20 years, the 610s and 620s, Pulakeshin had only victory. He was rich, proud, and undefeated. He ruled peacefully from the Malaprabha River Valley. He laughed at his enemies running away. But now, he started losing. He thought he could never be defeated. But now, everything changed. 9. His luck was gone. Like a champion who suddenly starts losing every match. 10. Slowly, Pulakeshin's kingdom became full of problems. In the 630s, his empire started breaking. Local rulers in the say, why should we listen to Pulakeshin anymore? They stopped trusting his power. Super simple summary. Narasimha defeated Pulakeshin 3 times. Pulakeshin tried again and again, but kept losing. His army, symbol Boar of Vishnu, lost to Pallava army, symbol Bull of Shiva. Pulakeshin's army ran away. It was a huge shock and shame for him. He had been winning for 20 years, living rich and proud. Now, everything was falling apart. His kingdom started crumbling. Local leaders didn't respect him anymore. Let me know if you'd like to continue the story, or want a visual map or chart to make it even clearer. Alright, let's now break down this part, step by step, line by line, in the simplest English possible, just like a teacher explaining to a little child who knows nothing about history. I'll also add small real-life examples to make it even easier. Ready? Let's go. 1. Pulakeshin had boasted endlessly of his victory over Harsha in 16. Simple meaning. Pulakeshin kept bragging again and again that he defeated the powerful Emperor Harsha in the year 618. Example. It's like a boy saying, I beat the biggest and strongest kid in school. No one can defeat me. 2. And had gone about building an image of invulnerability. Simple meaning. He wanted people to think he was unbeatable, like a superhero who could never lose. 3. Through his brutal wars to keep his vassals in line and cow his neighbors into submission. Simple meaning. He fought harsh and scary wars to make sure his vassals, smaller rulers under him, obeyed him. His neighbors were afraid of him and gave up without fighting. Example. It's like a gang leader who keeps punching people so they stay scared and never fight back. Number 4. Now the Pallava Narasimha gleefully gave this man, the hero of the Deccan, a taste of his own medicine. Simple meaning. Now Narasimha from the Pallava kingdom happily did the same thing to Pulakeshin. He beat him in battle just like Pulakeshin used to beat others. Taste of his own medicine, same bad way he treated others. 5. Milked his victories for his own propaganda. Simple meaning. Narasimha used his wins to tell everyone how great he was and make his name famous. Example. It's like a kid shouting, "Look, I beat the champion, I'm the best now." 6. A later Pallava inscription describes him as Narasimha Varman, who wrote the syllables of the word victory on Pulakeshin's fleeing back. Simple meaning. An old stone writing from the Pallava side said, Narasimha wrote victory on Pulakeshin's back as he ran away. It's poetic language meaning, Narasimha beat Pulakeshin so badly that he ran away, and everyone saw it. Jai 7, he saw in the battles of Pariyala, Manimangala, Suramara, etc. Simple meaning. Narasimha defeated Pulakeshin in many places, like Pariyala, Manimangala, and Suramara. These were big wins that people remembered and talked about. 8. With his position and prestige so badly shaken. Simple meaning. Pulakeshin's power and respect were now badly damaged. 9. Pulakeshin must have cast about desperately to reassure his vassals and to search for allies. Simple meaning. Pulakeshin, scared and worried, tried to calm down his vassals, small kings under him, look for new friends to help him. 10. One of them, perhaps, was his own brother. Simple meaning. He may have hoped his younger brother would support him. 11. Who, rather than come to Pulakeshin's aid, declared himself Maharaja Vishnuvardhana. Simple meaning. But instead of helping his brother, the younger brother made himself king and took a big title, Maharaja, meaning great king. 12. An independent royal title, not that of a vassal. Simple meaning. He didn't want to be under Pulakeshin anymore. He now ruled his own land as an independent king, not as a helper or junior. How final summary in super simple words. Pulakeshin was proud. He always said, I beat Harsha. No one can defeat me. He scared other kings with war and made them obey him. But Narasimha from the Pallava kingdom defeated Pulakeshin many times. Narasimha used those wins to tell everyone how strong he was. In old writings, it says Narasimha wrote victory on Pulakeshin's back, meaning Pulakeshin ran away in shame. Pulakeshin's fame and power were now broken. He tried to find support and help, but even his own brother didn't help him. His brother instead declared himself a king and left Pulakeshin's rule. Let me know if you'd like the next part explained too, or want a simple cartoon map or drawing of these events. Here's a detailed summary of the passage you gave in the simplest and clearest way, like you're learning it for the first time. Summary. The fall of Pulakeshin and the rise of Pallava power, 641 to 642 CE. 1. Pulakeshin's troubles begin, 641 CE. Pulakeshin the Sikhu, the great Chalukya king, was growing old and tired. His brother Vishnuvardhana, instead of helping him, declared himself a king with the title Maharaja. This could have been a betrayal, or maybe it was a peaceful deal. Maybe Pulakeshin said, you be king of your own region, but don't fight my sons after me. 2. It didn't matter. A bigger danger was coming. Whatever deal they had, it didn't help. A much bigger threat was coming, not from inside the family, but from outside enemies. 3. Pallava revenge begins, 642 CE. The very next year, the Pallava king Narasimha Varman brought his mighty army and elephants. He marched right to the gates of Vadapi, Pulakeshin's capital city. This was not just a war. It was revenge. Narasimha wanted to completely destroy the Chalukyas, who had once beaten the Pallavas badly. 4. End of the Chalukya glory. Pulakeshin's once powerful kingdom was now under attack. His image of being strong and undefeatable was shattered. The Pallavas were ready to take control and change the power balance in South India. Key points to remember. Vishnuvardhana became an independent king in 641. Pulakeshin's family was dividing while his enemies were uniting. In 6642, Narasimha of the Pallavas brought his army to attack Vadapi. This was the start of the Pallava revenge and the beginning of the end for Pulakeshin's rule. Let me know if you'd like this turned into a timeline, story form, or even a comic-style breakdown. Here is the most simple, step-by-step explanation of this passage, explained like you are brand new and want to understand it clearly, word by word, thought by thought. How did Pulakeshin II die? This is about his final days. Sure, what really happened. 1. Who was Pulakeshin II? He was once Arya, a young man who was very brave and tough. He climbed rocks, fought wars, and even killed his own uncle to become king. He captured cities and became a famous and powerful emperor. He defeated great kings like Harsha and became a legend in the Deccan. But what happened at the end of his life? No one knows for sure. There are many questions and guesses like, 3. Did he ride out to fight, knowing he would die? Maybe he said, I will fight like a warrior, even if I die, and then left his fort, sword in hand, to fight the Pallavas. 4. Or did he stay inside his palace quietly? Maybe he just watched sadly as the enemy soldiers came. The elephants broke the gates. The soldiers entered the city of Vatapi. His empire was falling apart right in front of him. 5. He had to watch something even more painful. The victory pillar he had built, a big stone monument to show off his great wins. Maybe he saw elephants pulling it down, like pulling out a tree trunk and carrying it to Kanchi, the Pallava capital. This would be like someone stealing your trophy and showing it off as their own. 6. Or maybe he was already dead before all this. It's also possible that Pulakeshin died quietly before the enemy even arrived. We just don't know. There's no record of what really happened. 7. Why don't we know the truth? Family, the Chalukyas, never wrote down or talked about how he died. Maybe they were too ashamed, or it was taboo, forbidden, or too painful to talk about. He was such a great king, they didn't want to admit that his end was sad or weak. Simple summary, Pulakeshin II was once a mighty king, strong and proud, but at the end we don't know how he died. Maybe he died in battle, maybe he stayed in his palace, maybe he was already gone. His family never said, maybe it hurt too much to tell the truth. Let me know if you'd like this as a short story, a comic, or even a poem.